the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has filed what he termed as fresh evidence against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the Supreme Court. The former vice president, who has also urged Supreme Court to accept the new evidence, specifically sought to leave of the Apex Court to tender Tinubu's academic records, which he said were handed over to him by the Chicago State University on October 2nd, 2023. In a motion he filed through his team of lawyers, led by Chief Chris Uche, SAN, the PDP presidential candidate said the evidence he is seeking to tender before the court would establish his allegations that Tinubu submitted forged documents to the Independent National Electoral Commission in aid of his qualification to participate in the presidential election. Atiku argued that Tinubu, by his action, committed forgery and perjury and therefore deserved to be removed from office by the Supreme Court. He also stated that the 32-page document he is seeking to tender was released by the CSU on the orders of Judge Nancy Maldonado of the District Court of Illinois, Eastern Division, Illinois, in the United States of America. All right, Steve, the saga continues. If you recall, I mean, the whole idea was, discovery for use. And we don't know if the Supreme Court will admit this fresh evidence at this point.
Yeah.
Some lawyers have argued that it is in the best interest of the Supreme Court to accept this because it's a matter of national importance, national interest. Others have said it's not technical for them to admit these documents in court.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's up to the Supreme Court, frankly speaking, and we will get to know in a matter of days or weeks, when the justices will decide, whether it's acceptable to them or not. I think that the lawyers to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has done the right thing to their cause, which is to present that which they believe they got from Chicago State University, and which they think that it might swing the judgment in their favor. And part of what they're arguing is that it has been done before, and they cited instances that for electoral petition, if it becomes necessary, and that the Supreme Court can, and indeed have done that before, to accept fresh evidence that can help or assist the petitioner. Of course, part of what people are saying is that you didn't plead some of these things ab initio,
right?
And that the Supreme Court is not where you go and argue fresh cases. But then, even if Supreme Court accept, it's also all about what's the precedent. People have cited the case of two governors in Osun,
yes,
and in Enugu, where some decisions have been taken and it didn't quite go in the manner that a lot of people thought that it would go. So it is not just about will the Supreme Court accept, even if they do, what is the strength of the evidence that Atiku Abubakar and his lawyers are bringing to the court. But of course, we know that this will not go away anytime soon. It is not likely that it will even disappear after the Supreme Court ruling. There are other things attached to the evidence in court that Atiku Abubakar is bringing, and I foresee that this might stretch ultimately, depending on what the Supreme Court says, ultimately towards 2026, if not to 2027, when the next round of the elections and voting, will happen. But let's see. It's interesting times, isn't it?
Let's see.
Sadly, our country is not getting the best in terms of reputation, out of all this. And I hope that there won't be damages to people, to Nigerians, especially those who are seeking legitimate opportunities abroad, in terms of having to go through their documents and credentials and the things that they have pleaded.
Yes, you cited some examples, and I appreciate that you were able to do. But just for some clarity on some of those examples, there was one in 2020, which is the case of David Leon of the APC. In that case, they talked about bearing different names in different certificates. They said that he committed fraud fraud and forgery of certificate is a crime. So these are some of the arguments that will be made in court if they admit those
if they admit
documents.
and you're able to prove
absolutely
that forgery, indeed occurred.
Well, all right.